Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 23 of Digitized Desperadoes. Very time travel filled episode because we watched Steins Gate.
We are watching. We were watching.
We
I don't
are
know,
watching.
man. There's
Yeah,
a lot of word lines. It's hard to tell anymore.
we will
In
watch
another-
Steins Gate, and then get in a time travel machine and tell you about it, right? Something like that.
We will all time leap to the time that we have watched Steins Gate.
Which is now.
Okay,
which
it's
is
now.
now.
Yeah, I've now
We did
watched
it.
Steins Gate.
We have to have
We
a
did it,
panic
guys.
attack now.
This show is a
Okay.
fucking trip.
This is one of the best anime I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yes, thank you.
I loved it. I loved it a lot.
I'm really happy, and also I hope this.
You
will
should have
happen.
expected this.
It is absolutely one of my favorites. I have watched it. This is my third time watching. I've played through the visual novel 2 or 3 times. I've watched all of the. Well, I'll tell you about the spin-off and sequel content later. But
Yeah,
I've watched all of
we'll
that.
totally do that as a whole segment.
I am
Yeah.
curious though. What is the visual novel like? How does that work?
Okay. So the way it's actually you don't have dialogue choices
Okay.
because Okabe is very much his own character. He gets his own lines, even though you're told the story from his perspective, which I think that's a big thing. The anime leaves out is Okabe's inner thoughts and stuff. Because one thing that there's a lot of things I think the anime leaves out, which they're fine. The anime's fantastic, but they leave out a lot of Okabe. Like Okabe constantly comments on how beautiful he thinks Kurisu is, which you don't get in the anime. You don't get that he's attracted to her from the flippin' minute he sees her. So that I think that hinders the romance a little bit. But the choices are made with his phone. Your phone will ring sometimes, and you can open it, and you get a text from someone, any of the cast members, even before you've met some of them, and you're given choices to respond with.
Oh.
And those determine how the story goes. Some of them have literally no effect. Some of them you'll get a neat little picture or ringtone or something.
Because, yeah, there are different endings I'm seeing.
There are, like, okay, so the scene where Okabe reverses the D-mails, you were given the choice to not reverse it, and if you don't reverse it, you get an alternate ending.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Usually they involve Okabe getting into a relationship with that character. I'll explain those as we get to them. They're really interesting too.
When we get to that
Yeah.
arc of undoing the D-mails.
Yeah, but all of the choices determined with the fun, and it's one of those games where getting the true ending, you have to look up a guide. It's so ridiculous. In order to get the true ending, you have to have like 3 really specific conversations with Kurisu over your phone in order to get her to open up about her dad, which makes sense.
So
Anyway,
is
okay.
the anime ending true ending?
Yes, actually, it's hilarious because if you play through the visual novel normally and you get no alternate endings, you get the ending that most people call the Mayuri ending because it's Okabe sacrificing Kurisu to live with Mayuri. And then, but if you get the true ending requirements at the end of the credits for the Mayuri segment, it goes into the true ending.
Okay.
Which is
Which is
actually
the
kind
same
of what the anime does.
The anime does that with the credit sequence in like episode 20,
too, I
22 or
believe.
23,
Yeah.
a little bit earlier.
22 has the "it's not over yet" moment.
Yes, they have a fake out credit sequence, which is great. It wouldn't be great in another anime, but because it's intentional and like
It's a reference to the visual novel half of it,
right.
which is great.
Okay, so why don't we start at the beginning?
As all things generally do.
So the first episode makes no sense until you've watched the whole thing.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
first episode is there for you to like make blind predictions off of.
Yes, the first
Yes.
episode is literally the last episode, but from a different perspective.
Just
Yes.
what the hell is going on, and you later find out that really minor things actually are the most important thing to ever happen in history.
Yes, Okabe gets a text message that is a static video and means nothing, and then you get like episode 23 and you realize it's insanely important to reality.
Yes.
Okabe hears his own scream when he
Yeah.
thinks Kurisu has died.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so good. On a rewatch, it's so good.
Mary getting the metal Upa causes World War III.
It does. And it's not because Mayuri gets the Upa. It's because Mayuri gets the Upa, loses
Drops
it, and then Kurisu picks it up because she thinks it's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we're going all over the place. But so the beginning is we follow this unlikely band of weird college students and Mayuri, who is in high school. So Okabe is, I believe, an engineering student. Daru is as well. They are on summer break, but they still have to go to the lectures for some reason, which I always thought was weird.
Yeah.
So Okabe thinks he sees Kurisu dying, but then he accidentally changes timeline, and then Kurisu's alive.
And he's very confused, and I was confused. It was a great time.
Okabe has a completely understandable panic attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw you die.
And here we get the first couple of changes from the visual novel. One of the ones that bothers me a lot is Kurisu's lecture on the nature of time travel that's in the second episode. They actually do the full lecture in the visual. They have Kurisu explain the 7 or so leading theories of how time travel could hypothetically work, which are true.
Yeah.
But you can't do that in an anime because you only have so much time.
Right. It's a very lengthy scientific conversation that fascinates me. I think it's very
I think it
interesting.
would have been great.
I recommend you.
As a sci-fi enthusiast.
Well, isn't there a new version of the visual novel where it's fully animated?
They're doing a new version in a month or so called Steins Elite, which is the anime, but you can play it a little bit.
That's odd.
There's not enough information about it for me to say, like, I don't think it's just the visual novel animated. I don't think that's what it is.
Oh, that's the sense I got, was visual novel with full animation.
I don't think so, because the only thing that's confirmed they animated extra were the alternate endings.
Okay.
Which that's cool, but
That's nice.
they're not that long. Anyway, we'll see when that happens. I'm not pre-ordering it or
I'm not a
anything.
time traveler. I can't send that to myself.
Yeah. With your microwave.
Or am I?
And then you get John
point?
Titor. Okay.
John Titor. Yeah.
John Titor.
John Titor.
This is actually a real internet thing.
Yeah,
this
that John Titor is
guy
a
back
thing
in 2009, I think.
2001.
2001 shit. Yeah. He went on a forum and he claimed that he was a time traveler and said a lot of really compelling stuff. Like, I went and I found the original forum posts of these, and I recommend reading a bit of it. It's really lengthy, but it gets pretty interesting.
I believe he predicted a second civil war in America, World War III.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. And a lot of it parallels the plot of Steins Gate. It was intentional, of course. He wants the IBM computer.
Yes. One of the main plot points of this is there's looking for an IBM, not IBM, 5100. And that's what John Titor wants in the actual story, or the actual internet event? I don't know what to call that.
Copy pasta?
No, it's much longer than a copy pasta. It's a guy having conversations online.
It's a guy going on forums in 2001.
Yes.
And just making up random stories.
No, he's a real time traveler.
It
was back in the time of the internet where stuff like that just didn't happen every day. It was crazy.
Like, that's just like AOL forums probably at that point.
I think it was. Yeah.
I found an archive of the original message board. I forgot what it was from.
2001.
There was a few proto websites.
There
Or
were a
not proto
lot of
websites,
just
yeah.
message board websites that weren't like a popular brand name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Okabe harasses Kurisu. Like, you can't spin it any other way. He just does.
Yeah.
But he has good intentions. He just wants to make sure she's okay. Which in this
Well,
world,
referring to himself as Hohoin Kiyoma.
which I'm
Is
pretty
not his
sure
name.
Halloween, the name means like Phoenix Rising or something, like translated. It's a really ridiculous name.
Or
And
a
also hard to
ridiculous man.
pronounce. But he has this ridiculous persona of him as a mad scientist, which we'll get to that in depth about later. So
And everyone, like even Daru, gives him crap about it.
the
And
only
Daru's
person who
his
doesn't,
best friend.
the only people who don't are Luca, who enjoys it, and Ferris, who has her own.
Yes.
Anyway, I guess Souza has fine with it, but that's because she knows about it.
Spoilers.
We're talking about the whole thing here.
All right,
Mitch.
yeah. If you guys are watching this and haven't seen this show, go watch it.
Why are you watching?
This is your last warning.
Yeah,
Go watch Steins Gate.
Yeah.
Like,
We
this
out
won't
here
even be
microwaving
enjoyable.
bananas.
Yeah.
This
They
won't even
throw
be
those bananas
enjoyable.
in the microwave, man.
So, yeah, we should probably go into like our general thoughts on things. So, what do you think of all the introductions in the beginning? It usually gets a lot of hate for being really slow at the beginning.
It was very slow.
I will definitely
but
say, like, the slowest. It's by far It's pretty slow and boring for like that first chunk. But once they start sending the D-mails, that's when you get in. That's when it starts picking up, and it's just a blast from there on out.
I found it really slow, but I didn't find it quite as boring. I was just like, this is going to get really crazy, isn't it? And I just was waiting for that to happen because I knew it was going to happen, and it does.
Yeah, there's just like a feeling of this is gonna get somewhere sooner or later, and when it does, it's gonna be great. And once they
I mean,
and
like,
that
you got,
point
like,
is
stuff
when
like
they figure out,
episode-
okay, this is how this works, and then they start sending emails and changing reality.
Like, they do hint at stuff
That's
early
when
on, like episode 3 is when they like, oh, human is dead. They find some shit that they were not supposed to.
When they start looking at certain stuff, that's also a big point of just, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of misdirection and interesting stuff in the early episodes. I noted on this watch something I haven't noticed before. They introduced John Titor very early, like the first episode. John Titor is mentioned.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, John Titor never existed until now?
Yeah, now in this world line, John Titor went to 2008, I believe, 2010, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And is looking for the IBN. And something interesting that I noticed is that the only people in the story who are references looking for the IBN are Moeka and you guys wouldn't know this, but Nightheart.
Who?
Daru mentions this once in passing conversation. Nightheart is the main character of Chaos Head, the prequel to this, basically.
Okay.
But it is the only similarity between the only shared feature between the two is that Nightheart is mentioned once.
Wow.
Okay.
Which is kind of sad.
Steins Gate's part of a whole
So it's basically
series.
one of those shared universe, and that's about it kind of scenarios.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a few things that I know that do that.
Well, also, there's a rock band in Chaos Head who the lead singer is one of the main characters. She performs the ending song for Steins Gate. Anyway, so I think it's interesting that they misdirect people with who John Titor is. It could be Moeka. Moeka's the weird one, you know? They don't know anything about her. And Nightheart could show up. He doesn't.
Yeah.
What an edgy name.
Chaos Head is a thing. It's great. I love it, but it's a thing. So Kurisu joins the lab, kind of begrudgingly. She doesn't like Okabe. And Okabe calls her Christina. And many other colorful nicknames.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some good ones.
Like early on, he calls her a pervert a bunch.
Yeah,
They
and
call each other
Zuz,
pervert a bunch.
Zuz
True.
Zombie.
Zombie.
And Okabe has a lot of very colorful nicknames for his friends. He has Part-Time Warrior for Suzaha. He has Shining Finger for Moika.
Which is a G Gundam reference.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of references to other stuff in this. They quote JoJo constantly.
Well, yeah, they do. Rohan's.
Yeah, they do that, and two of the... Is it two? I think there's one or two of the inventions, the future gadgets.
With their
One of them is
dumb naming conventions.
one of them references Jotaro's Aura Aura, which is awesome. And one of them that's actually used in a really pivotal scene is the Moab Snake. It's Metal Gear.
Oh.
Which they use that's their humidifier.
Oh, the humidifier. That's
Um,
very important.
so what do you think about all the characters? Because
I
this is
think
what
they're
we're
all pretty
introduced to the
good,
characters.
but they're all pretty good. But early on, because they introduced so many of them, there was a lot. I was like, who is this again? There's like some characters I'd get confused with each other, stuff like that. But for the most part, by the end of the show, I was totally able to figure it out.
Oh yeah, no, by the over time, like there's some early wait, there's quite a few people here, but then eventually it's like, okay, no, I got everything in order.
Yeah.
And you love all of them.
Yeah, they don't get too much screen time, but I love Ferris. Ferris is a fantastic character. I love Luca. Luca is amazing. I'm iffy on Daru. Daru is probably the least important character. Did
Who's Daru?
you say who's Daru?
Yeah, I forgot.
Super hacker.
Are you joking?
Are you talking about the okay? No,
Max.
I'm confused. The wiki has him as Itaru.
Itaru
Oh,
Hashida.
they said
Yes.
Daru, and I'm like, what the fuck is a Daru?
His name is Daru.
Okay. Oh, is
That's
it?
his-
The only one who ever
I'm
calls him
awful
anything
with
different
names,
is
dude.
Tarisu calls him Hashida.
I am so terrible with names. I'm just like fat guy. My brain.
Wait, did you watch the sub or the dub?
I watched it subbed.
Yeah, good.
I'm just terrible with names.
I told you to watch the sub, so
Yeah.
good. I don't like the
I
dub.
listened.
Oh yeah. So, in episode 4, I wanted to point this out. It's the one where Ferris forces Okabe to participate in her weird card game competition,
Yeah.
and he announces that he has a grand strategy.
Oh yeah.
It's called G Back. The reason why this name works so well is because the Japanese phrase Jibaku it means kamikaze.
Oh. Oh, he sacrifices himself.
Yes, because
Oh my
Ferris,
god, no, wait, that's really important.
Ferris said that he didn't have to win the game. He just had
Had
to
to
play.
participate, yeah. I saw
So
that
he
coming
just-
the moment she said
Oh my
participate,
fucking
and I'm like,
God.
oh, I know what he's about to do.
Oh, that's wow. Oh my god, they hinted at it that early.
I don't
Wow.
know, Mitch. What are you trying to say? They hinted at what? Do you mean the end?
Yes,
Oh,
Maybe?
where he
Yeah.
almost narrowly kills himself to win.
but I think that's just kind of a theme of Okabe in general. He's very, very
Self-sacrificing.
self-sacrificing, but he
Yeah.
doesn't show it. He always disguises it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, that's part of what I love.
I
About
mean, basically
the show.
throughout the
I
whole
imagine
show, it's just him
that's the
trying
theme.
shit, and nobody knows that he's trying shit.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, that's something I get really mad at people when they're like, oh, Okabe's just a goofy, silly, fun guy. And I'm like, no, it's literally all acting.
Yeah.
Like, he's suffering a lot. I feel bad for him.
The whole point of the show is Okabe slowly, more and more, becoming more open about how much he cares about his friends.
Well, even then, it's him becoming more sealed off about it because he can't talk about time travel to anyone except Kurisu by the end,
Yeah.
or at least he chooses not to with like Mayuri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, episode 4 is when you get a lot of good Okabe Kurisu conversation.
Yeah.
It's where you get the scene where they have to carry back the computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot of sexual tension.
Because of the inclusion of the IBM 5100, I did my research on it, and it weighs 27 kilograms.
Yep.
How much is that in American?
That's a lot.
How much is that in American? Let me Google kilogram
50 something?
to pounds.
50 something, right?
27. 27 is 59 pounds.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, that's heavy. That's
That's a
That's
lot.
half a person.
That's quite a bit.
And they're both weak nerds.
Yes.
Yes. Okabe is a skinny man in a lab coat. He is not designed for lifting things. Like, I think there's jokes multiple times where Dara's just like, just because I'm big doesn't mean I'm actually strong.
Yeah, he does say that.
Now, I do want to get into this because it is a mild irk. I don't really care that much. They say that they need it because it has a proprietary language, like programming language, right? That's what they need the IBM for. Because it didn't run BASIC. It ran BASIC, the IBM 5100. It used earliest version of BASIC and APL, which was another well-known one at the time, or one of the newest ones at the time. It's a little weird, though. If you look it up, it has weird symbols. APL does, so I could see that still being relevant into the fact that they needed it, because not really much else uses APL. But there is APL emulation, but that's just a dumb nitpick.
Yes,
I understood some of those words.
It could have run BASIC, which they said
No,
it couldn't.
I think the point. Okay, yeah, you might be right on that, but I think the point.
And it
the
didn't.
CERN data was.
Couldn't be read by any other computer.
Yes, it was specifically made with and for the IBM.
Yeah. There also, I believe, is IBM 5100 emulation of some sort, but whatever.
Now there is.
Yeah.
In 2010 was there.
There's a good chance because computer software is like easier to do that with. But this is all nitpicky. I don't actually care. It's science
that's
fiction.
really interesting. I was going to mention
now that we're re-going over this and I'm looking over like past notes. I see like early on, I guessed like is Suzuha a sleeper agent or something? Because like the first time she like sees Kurisu and she goes for like that killer stance, I'm like, what the fuck was that?
No, there's a really good scene in episode 2, by the way, where Okabe throws corn at her. She doesn't know how to eat it. Suzuha has no idea how to eat corn. What do you think she did with that thing of corn? Do you think she just bit into it?
Probably.
It's great. But yeah, Suzuha, there's a lot of instances of her PTSD. When a plane goes by, she freaks out.
That's right.
Fireworks scare her a lot. Suzuha is a fantastic character as well. Anyway, what was I saying?
There's like early hints of Kurisu being a big nerd. Like she quotes all your base.
Yes,
she does. I forgot about that.
And then she very quickly tries to move along so that no one will notice, but everyone notices.
There are a couple of conversations done through a 4chan type forum.
Yes.
Which of course is more based on 2channel, which is
the origin
the Japanese version.
Yeah.
But in this it's called @channel.
Yeah.
And if you look back or you look a little bit more closely at those conversations, you'll see two people who pop up a lot. You'll see Ho and Kyoma,
which is Okabe.
And you'll see I believe it's something Gohan Kamehameha.
Oh my god.
Curry Gohan and Kamehameha, and that's Kurisu.
Yeah, that's right. They do reference that later.
Yeah.
Where Okabe just straight up calls her out on it.
But yeah, if you look back at the conversations with like John Titor, you'll see it's pretty much just Okabe and Kurisu arguing over the internet without even having met each other yet. It's great.
Or like when there's just like so many like nice little small character moments, like Kurisu puts on the lab coat and Okabe gets really, really excited about it. And he's like, yeah.
And they both like
Gets
Dr. Pepper.
And they start posing, and he's like, this is the best.
That's in episode 5. Also in episode 5 is a really good scene of an early it's basically a sort of foreshadowing for later, is when Okabe for some reason like just yells at Kurisu and she like starts crying.
Yeah.
She starts like breaking down and it's like, oh my god, what did you do, Okabe?
Yeah.
But it hints at the relationship she had with her dad, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Because the dad is the main villain. Like
Unforgivable. Horrible person.
you literally, there's no other bad guy in the show except
the disembodied idea of CERN. Kind of.
yeah, but that's
CERN and its goons.
CERN squad.
yeah. But the whole thing was actually caused by Kurisu's death, which was caused by
For dad.
Dr. Nakabachi.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot. Is there anything else you guys want to say in this early segment?
I can't think of much.
Just like some more early references, like
What is
Daru trying to name the D-males after Girl Who Left Through Time,
Oh
and
yeah,
Ryori trying to do Back to the Future references,
and they go with that.
and they pick it.
So the
Male
D-mail
for
is actually
DeLorean male.
the DeLorean male.
I wanted to mention episode 6. He says that August 2nd, 2010 will go down in history. That's my birthday.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
great.
Well, not 2010, but yeah.
Well, it was your birthday.
It would have been my 10th birthday.
Yeah. That reminds me, this is way off topic. Do you remember? I shouldn't even say this. Do you remember the Michiko Tohachin episode where they are in the air balloon and they have to escape from
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
That was on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, now I need to find anime events that happen on October 23rd.
I'm sure there's some. Actually, the flippin' Cowboy Bebop movie probably does.
Ooh, nice.
It's around that time. Okay.
That's
So
great.
now we are getting into when the D-mails are being sent, and the first
And
one
this
is
is
of
where
course
business picks up.
the first one is of course the lottery.
Yes.
They send winning lottery numbers to Luca.
So you keep saying Luca, but in the subs, or at least on Hulu, it was always like Rukako or Ruka.
That's a translation thing. I call her Luca. I just think it sounds better because L and R are weird in Japanese,
Yeah.
and I think Luca sounds more like a name, and that's how I've seen it translated more often. I mean, also you get Ferris. Ferris has a lot of different translations. Some people do Feyris.
It was always Faris.
That's how I spell it. There's a couple others, but it's not really important.
Yeah.
I call her Luca. Get over it.
All right, fine. I know who you're talking about, so it's whatever.
Yeah. So they send the lottery numbers to Luca, and it works more or less. She gets one
He
of the
gets them
numbers
wrong.
Just one of them.
Yeah.
Just off.
Oh yeah, there's a good scene where Okabe is concerned about something, and he starts talking to Suzuha about it, and she's just like, "Why don't you ask John Titor?" Which is like,
it makes so much sense now.
it's really clever because she's obviously very intelligent and thinking very strategically about.
So but she basically indirectly says, "Hey, talk to me about it."
Yeah.
On 4chan.
Oh, and then we get introduced to Okabe's ability of the reading Steiner,
Steiner.
Yeah.
which is the ability to retain memories across world lines, which it's kind of hinted that most people do have. It's just they don't have it as strong as Okabe.
Hmm.
Because I'm going to introduce you to something they don't talk about very much in the anime. So the way world line divergence works is that on a day-to-day basis, you cannot change the world line very much. It's not possible. If you were to send a D-mail in 2006 to yourself, it wouldn't really do anything. Like, it might change what you had for dinner that day, or if you won the lottery for a
But
small
nothing
amount.
enough to like
It
really
couldn't.
dramatically change.
It couldn't cause World War III. It couldn't do any of that, no matter what. It doesn't matter who you are.
Mhm.
But there are points in time that are so pivotal to human history that even something very small could change
They
everything.
get to that at the end of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, but what they don't tell you is that there are 2 times that are in Okabe's lifetime. There is the turn of the century, and there is 2010.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, John Carter does mention like Y2K was one of the key points.
Yeah.
So one thing they gloss over is that Suzuha solved Y2K.
Wait, what?
Suzuha, okay, I think this is actually in the original John Titor myth, but Suzuha goes to 1999 and solves Y2K.
When? When did? What?
I don't think it's ever
1999.
mentioned in the anime, but she does. It's canon.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
So that's a thing. But anyway, because of that, Okabe got the reading Steiner then in 1999 in Turns of the Century.
Okay, so when he's
'Cause
like a
you
little
get
kid.
You get a flashback of him being like very sick, like flipping Josuke
Oh, that's
getting his
right.
stand.
And
Okay.
yeah, he does flashback on that, and it's like, oh, it feels a lot like that time I had a fever.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Oh,
how
so
he
that's what it
got
was.
his ability. It's never explained beyond that, not even any of the spin-offs. I don't know. And then, okay, I marked every world line change as they happened.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one you get is the lottery one,
Yes.
and actually, based on this, the first one is Moeka.
Yeah.
Moeka, they let her send
She gets a
mail.
different phone.
They don't know what it is.
No, it's the
Yeah.
phone. Trust
Yeah,
me.
sure. Trust FB.
Totally.
And then they send the D-mail to flippin' Luca's mom's pager.
Yeah.
So that she will
You
eat vegetables.
vegetables to
and
make
thus Luca
daughter.
will be born a girl.
Which, mind you, it works.
It totally works.
The only thing I can say for that is it could have possibly caused a butterfly effect and then just flipped the 50-50 odds of that happening.
Regardless, it worked.
So Luca is pretty much from here on out a woman.
For now.
Yeah.
I consider her canon trans because she is. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that is Ferris gets in on the fun and
Ferris-
deletes Moe.
Ferris deletes anime.
No anime.
Anime is gone.
I love the distinction between, okay, Ferris's dad is alive. No more Moe culture.
Yes.
Ferris's dad is dead. All the Moe culture.
Bring him back.
That is literally the key.
Ferris's is very depressing. She has the most memory of the other world lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that so much when you get to that eventually that arc where it's like, wait, every people start remembering.
Mm-hmm. And
It's like,
Mayuri
it's not just
mentions
Okabe
it.
anymore.
Yeah.
People still have
Oh,
the
when
faint little
Mayuri
echoes.
mentions that later.
Oh, that
yeah,
scene
Mayuri
is
mentions the dreams.
okay.
And
The
I was
entire
like, oh no, she knows everything.
the entire last 10 episodes are just they just beat you down.
Yeah.
They're just they're heavy. We might as well get into those soon.
Yeah.
What's next? Oh yeah, Suzuha's. Suzuha is the most aware of what Okabe is doing. There's one scene where he's trying to help her find her dad, and he's like yes, this will be a wonderful experiment. I'll use my mad scientist powers. And Suzuha like puts a hand on his shoulder and is like, "You don't have to do this for me. You're being so nice right now." And Okabe's like, "Did you just call me out for being nice? No one's ever said this before." Oh yeah, there's a Metal Gear crotch grab scene.
Oh yeah.
It's really awkward and it makes me kind of mad, but also it's kind of necessary. But
to show like, oh no, yeah, it did. Like, cause no, you don't find out that Luca's worked until after
yeah, it's well
Ferris's,
after.
Yeah.
when she is in
He doesn't
the lab,
believe
and
that
Okabe's like, wait,
the
did that one
vegetable
work?
thing would have actually worked because it kind of shouldn't have, but
It shouldn't
did.
have. It has no scientific basis.
The only reason again that I can say that it would work
there's no
is
scientific basis for this. Is this gonna work?
yeah. The only reason I could say that it would work is it's like a 50-50 shot, so like butterfly effect.
I guess.
There's no explanation for
Yeah.
it. Just accept it.
Yeah.
Just be
Yeah, I
happy
do
for
make a
Luca.
note at one point where
Random
it's
chance.
just, I like how we started. The lab starts with 2 guys and 1 girl, and then thanks to some slight reality changing, we go from 2 guys and 6 girls.
You're not wrong.
Okabe and Daru are the only guys at the lab.
I have actually seen some criticism of this that it's kind of a harem. Actually, it is a harem because you have Luca, Mayuri, and Kurisu,
Yep.
not Moeka. So there's something there. It's not romantic, but there's something.
There is something.
There is something
There is
And
something.
there's not with Suzuha because that's weird.
weird.
Don't do
Yeah.
that. She's essentially your niece. Don't do that.
She calls Okabe uncle in the last few
Yes.
episodes.
Yes.
That's not
is a
stopping the
different
internet,
Suzuha.
but don't do it.
Do not,
Suzu-
do not bang your future daughter.
Suzuha is a pleasant fit girl. I love
Yes.
her. But yeah, Okabe both stops Suzuha from meeting her dad and makes it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because originally Dara was going to go to this offline meetup with his internet friends. And Suzuha was specifically told to go there to meet her dad. I just thought that was a funny coincidence.
Yeah. Oh, and there's like early on, there's when Suzuha's still like suspicious of Kurisu. I'm like, hey Suzuha, what the fuck? Just dropping that maybe Kurisu works for CERN, and then she just leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Suzuha isn't wrong though.
She has reason to be suspicious because from her future,
Everything was fucked in her future.
Kurisu's kind of responsible for everything in that future where she lives.
So now Okabe starts getting threatening regular emails from CERN.
Yeah, they're like
Yes.
Actually, I think
Shouldn't
they're
have, like,
supposed
a
to be from.
head
He
cut off.
basically
I
gets
forgot
the
what it was.
Dark Brotherhood we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
message.
He does, and they are very okay. If you showed them to someone who has never seen the series,
I forgot
they'd be
what
like,
they were.
"That's not okay." The first one is a plate of gelatin.
Yes.
Oh.
I believe it's also green, so yeah, jelly
She's
man.
so jelly man.
We didn't
The
even talk
second
about
one,
the fact that it's a microwave.
it's a microwave.
Yeah, the time machine's a microwave that
it
they built
rotates
by accident.
backwards.
Gel mana.
I actually really like at first I was against that. I'm like, what? That's stupid. You can't just have a sci-fi thing about a microwave that's going backwards. But then I'm like, it's entirely there because they need the time machine. The time machine, how it functions, literally does not matter to the plot, other than what you can do with it. So it's kind of just like, what else would you do with it?
Okay, but like, isn't that exactly how college students work?
What do you mean?
In the summer, they're just bored, so they mess with their microwaves.
Yeah,
I feel like that's totally a thing that they would.
I am.
Like, you
I'm
could
not saying that's why they did it. I'm just saying that the reason that it is a time machine is weird.
Yeah, but it is explained.
It is explained, but like
It's kind of explained that the microwave is irrelevant, and it's more the
Yeah, that's what I was-
It's the
electricity.
TVs in the downstairs.
That's basically what I
Well,
said.
no.
Is
The lifter.
It is the electric from the microwave. It is the TV as the lifter, and they are also connected to the Large Hadron Collider.
yeah. So I hated it at first, but I actually did. It grew on me because I realized it's like the show isn't about why a time machine works.
Right.
And,
Well,
What using
I-
a time machine does to you and the world.
Yeah. I was just more disappointed that like we don't get to see that because I do like it when they explain stuff in sci-fi, but it is a big pitfall in really bad sci-fi writing for them to explain shit that just doesn't need explaining.
Max, you would love the visual novel of this.
Does it just go all in on how it works?
They take the 7 time travel theories, they pick one, and they make it real in that universe.
Yeah, I thought that part looked interesting. I kind of would want to see that.
I recommend you look it up on the
Yeah.
internet, the whole
Just
time
the-
travel concept.
Yeah.
And also the alternate endings, but I'll get to those later. We're not even at those.
We're not even at the reveal of a certain glasses-wearing girl.
Yes,
And
we are
what
very
she-
close,
yeah.
though. So the creepy Saren text, first is the gelatin being Jelly Man. The second is the doll head.
Yeah, I remember that
What's
one.
the doll head?
I don't know what that
The
means.
doll head is the one I believe he sees when he's at the supermarket, and he runs back to the lab, and all the
I
lights
don't
are off.
remember that.
Good. Well, it's a really good scene because you have this tension building up of him getting really worried that Saren is onto them, that they're going to jump on him at any moment. So he gets
Mhm.
paranoid, and then he gets these texts that have no text. They have nothing indicating they're from Saren. They're just generic, like stupid, creepy images. But they freak him out so much that he flipping sprints back to his friends to see if they're okay.
Yes.
But yeah, now we're at about episode 12, which is where most people on the internet says it gets good, but I think the whole thing is good. So
No, it's
It goes from good
before
to
that.
great.
But
Yeah.
this is where this is the shift.
so this is when they finish the time leap machine,
Yes.
which goes back 2 days.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
then
wait, no, I was
sends
just
your
looking at
memories
episode
back in
12 on
time.
my notes, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's why it gets real.
Yeah. So they decide to hold a party because they finished the time leap machine, but things go a little bit wrong.
A little.
Okabe forgot to buy stuff. And then he peeps on Mayuri and Kurisu bathing.
Oh, that's what I was just talking about with the text.
Yes.
Not
Oh, yeah.
intentional. I don't blame him at all for doing
Yeah.
that.
And then just CERN is watching. And then there's the Okabe and Mayuri in 70 million years ago dream.
Yeah, that was a thing.
That doesn't really matter later on, does it?
No, it's just him having a nightmare about what time travel would do to him and his friends.
Okay, it's just Okabe being further losing it from the time travel.
Mm-hmm. Well, he hasn't time leaped yet, but yeah. Anyway, so they finish the time leap machine. They decide to hold a party. They invite everyone, like literally everyone.
Everyone is here.
They went public
And-
about it, didn't they?
People who don't show up are Moeka and Suzuha.
They show up pretty soon after, though.
Yes. Moeka storms the party with armed men in great outfits.
With masks.
Yes. They are wearing like flippin-
Skin tight black leather outfit.
No, Moeka's wearing that, but the guys are wearing like Hawaiian shirts,
Right,
and
yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, that's right. They were just wearing gas masks.
Anyway, so they point guns at them, and they're like, "Hey, okay, Okabe, Daru, and Kurisu, you made a time machine. We need you for our experiments. Mayuri is unnecessary.
Fucking marker.
Mayuri is gone.
She gets her first death.
Which you don't realize yet is the first.
I have not Mayuri, you bitch, in the notes.
No, yes, all caps. Moeka was a CERN mole all along, followed by Moeka fucking killed Mayuri.
Yeah, it's one of the first most shocking events in the series. Besides time travel is real.
And
Anyway,
besides, what is to come?
Suzuha comes in and reveals what she was doing is turning on the TV in the bottom floor so they can use the time leap machine and stop this. And then we go into.
And this is all the cold open for 13. This is all before the OP.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It all happens so fast. Just
And then
Mary's
we get,
dead. Suzuha knocks out like half a dozen guys and has a face-off gunpoint showdown with Morika, and then Okabe gets his memory sent back in time.
Then we get the backstory of Mayuri and how her and Okabe became so close, which I think is really key to understanding
Yes.
Okabe's whole facade. Because the way it goes is that Mayuri's grandmother died, who she was very close to, so she would visit the grave constantly, and she would reach her hand out into the air. Who knows why? And Okabe would see that, and he would, this is bad. She's going to go join her, which I've always viewed as a metaphor for suicide. I've viewed Mayuri was suicidal after her grandmother's death, so Okabe made up the mad scientist story in order to, give her a reason to live.
Yeah.
Which is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why he keeps it up so much. And there's a couple scenes with Mayuri later that they're really, yeah.
Yeah.
So the time leap works, and now begins the horrible loop of trying to save her.
I have a note that just says, "This is a fucked up Groundhog Day."
It really is.
It bites the dust, except for way longer.
Yes.
They don't even show all of them, but Okabe goes through hundreds.
Yeah.
They do leave out some stuff from the visual novel that's really uncomfortable.
Worse than the vehicular manslaughter and the subway train.
God, the fucking subway train! Oh my god.
Oh, the subway train! Oh, that one hurt.
That one. Yeah, that one I refer to as Nae's first kill, but I'll explain that later.
Oh no! Wait, what do you mean first?
You'll see, or maybe you won't, but I'll explain it. Anyway, so the worst one in the visual novel that shook me, seriously. In one of them, Okabe gets separated from Mayuri for a second. He doesn't see her die, and then seconds later, he gets a text. It's Gel Mayuri.
Oh no!
No!
Yeah, it's horrible.
How? What? No, that's the worst. No. Bad.
They actually do briefly show it in the anime, but they don't explain it or anything. But it's rough.
Yeah, and I think about with I believe the car running her over. That was when I was like, oh, this is gonna be Mayuri's gonna die a million times, sort of thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was legitimately very pissed off.
I've explained the series to someone before, maybe it was you guys, that it's the show where a million people die, but at the end everyone is okay. Death count of this show is in the hundreds, but at the end no one dies.
I mean, if you want to get into the World War III stuff, billions.
Yeah.
Curious, does the visual novel or any of the extra stuff ever show what things look like past this point?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't just mention that and not have something that has that.
Yeah, we'll get into that about episode 23. I'll explain the spinoff.
Oh yeah, stuff. I actually do have note early on, around. I forget when, but I was didn't Kurisu say you can send the memories back 48 hours? Why isn't Okabe going back farther? Because he keeps doing the same, he goes back to earlier that day. When can't he go back farther? And I think he does later.
He does. He uses the full extent of it. I think the point was that the time leap machine wasn't finished yet 48 hours ago. But yeah, he does eventually.
But I was wondering that, can't he go back farther and give himself more time?
Anyway, episode 14, Okabe realizes that what he's doing isn't getting anywhere. And so he's very depressed. He's very screwed up from all the time
Like, he
leap.
straight up says all his organization and Steins Gate stuff is just BS, and he gives up on that.
And Kurisu gives one of the best pep talks ever. She does the pose and the
He does the
line and the
laugh, and
laugh.
it's so cute. It's adorable.
It's so good. It's couple goals. So now she gives him a code to use to confirm that Kurisu believes him. Which is, what was it? I want my own personal spoon.
Yes,
Yeah, something like that.
that's
which
right.
is a thing in Japan, not in America.
What does
No.
it mean?
She wants her own personal spoon.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so like, you just have your own spoon or something?
Yeah, she like carries it with her. She has
Okay,
a fork
then.
already. That was the point.
She doesn't have
Um,
a spoon.
I want a
So
fucking spoon. I don't got any silverware here. But that's me.
anyway,
I
they go
literally
back.
have
They
two
time
knives
leap.
and I have no silverware here. All right.
They time leap, and Okabe talks to Kurisu about it, and they decide to talk to Suzuha, who is John Tidor.
Yeah, no, I like right before the reveal, I was guessing like, is Suzuha from the future or something? Is she basically like Trunks in DBZ, where
I
she's
have
just the one
a
from the
note that
future?
just says, "I fucking knew it."
I mean, they don't try to explicitly hide it.
Yeah, I know, but like,
But even then, when it does
Yeah.
happen, it's like, oh, huh?
but it's one of those things where it's like, if you didn't see it coming, it'll blow your mind, and if you did see it coming, you're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Yes. And
They
then
get
they like, Kurisu's like, oh, I was on 4chan the whole time too, and Okabe's like, I was posting his ho and Kilma, and then Suzuha and Kurisu were just like, yeah, we knew. Like, it's so
So
good.
Suzuha gives the whole speech about what the future is like, that Okabe is a famous terrorist.
Yeah.
Which
Honestly,
is a great
again, I
line.
want to see what that looks like.
In
Does
time,
the VN
Max.
show?
In time,
Okay.
Max.
All right.
Oh,
Then
This
actually,
reminds me of
episode 15
Bioshock Infinite. That's weird.
Episode 15 is the episode where you get the famous "I am mad scientist."
Yes,
Yes,
I
I
have that
saw
as a
that.
note.
And I was like, I've seen
Hey,
this before, and I
mister,
was like,
I am
finally
mad
we're here.
scientist. So cool. Son of a bitch.
Just further JoJo.
So
Oh
basically,
yeah,
they
that's
start.
right. Early on, I predicted in episode 15, I guessed that Okabe was Suzuha's dad because
Well,
they
that's
had
wrong.
similar colored eyes, and then Suzuha's info about her dad's will matched Okabe. I was wrong because literally, like, I think the next episode, it's made clear it's Daru. It's revealed to be Daru.
So
And I was
Okabe
like,
doesn't
oh,
look like a barrel.
I don't know. It wasn't implied that he looked like a barrel. You didn't. This was before Barrel Tighter. This
Oh,
was
I
like,
thought that was
but
early on.
this
Okay.
is when Suzuha was talking about like her dad's will. Because she
Okay.
never met her dad.
So anyway, Suzuha talks about basically they get around to reversing the emails that were sent in reverse order.
Yes.
So Suzuha is screwed right now because her time machine broke because she stayed in 2010 for too long,
Yes.
which was Okabe's fault.
Never
Because
stay
he
in
sent the
2010
very first
too
one.
long.
So they start looking for her dad to get something out of the trip, and Daru starts to fix the time machine. Episode 16 is the one that makes me cry every time.
Oh, yep,
It's-
nope,
Yep.
I have note for that one.
This is. Yeah, this
So
one hurts.
they fix the time machine, but not really. They figure out that Daru is Suzuha's dad.
And then it's a future gadget with a goofy ass name, and everyone's
Yes.
like, and Mayuri's the one who realizes it.
Yeah.
It's good.
You know, there are a lot of moments in this series where I realize Mayuri is a lot smarter than she
She
was.
is one of she is absolutely very smart.
I
It's
think
that like
in her
kind of
own right.
archetype of somebody that's so innocent that they see the world just right.
Better than everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can view
I
her
think
as
that's how
that,
I
but
stated at one point. We're just like, yeah, Mayuri's got a really clear way of looking at things.
I
He
think
looks at
I
the
would
world
describe
very differently
her-
than everybody else, at the very least.
I think I would describe her as a mom figure. Honestly, she's very looking over people. Like not
Yes.
She's not with people. She's observing that. I don't know. It's weird. She's great.
Also, I do throw out the guess, even though this is never revealed or anything, that Mayuri is Suzuha's mom because
That's
she
wrong.
refuses. Okay, it's never. I don't know. It's not revealed at any point. She twice refuses to tell Daru.
Um, I'll explain that. That is
You can get to that.
thoroughly canon explained.
Okay, because there's the two instances where Daru's like, "Who is it? Who is it?" And she's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna tell you. That's a secret."
So anyway, Suzuha goes back in time with the maybe fixed time machine, and we get one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the entire thing. Just
This is
period.
painful.
We get a letter from Suzuha in the past. She is like 40 or something, 30.
She has been dead for 10 years. I believe it is.
She regained her memories
way too late.
A little bit too late to get the IBN. So she commits suicide.
And she just constantly talks about how she failed, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking cry. I'm depressed now.
It's just that letter.
Oh, that yeah, episode 16 hurts.
Yeah.
But then Okabe changes things so it goes better for Suzuha.
So here's where we get to the split in the visual novel where you get the first alternate ending. You get the Suzuha ending. This one is the most open-ended of any of them. So when actually this one's probably the most complicated. So when Okabe is time leaping, think of this as like an alternate world line, something that did happen but not to the Okabe you watch.
Mm-hmm.
So when Okabe is trying to find a solution to Mayuri's death, eventually he just gets so fed up with it that he decides to just live in those 2 days when the time leap machine is finished. He decides to endlessly time leap. He literally Groundhog Days himself, and at like in the hundreds, he starts absolutely losing his mind. He starts thinking really intrusive, horrible thoughts and thinking, I can do anything because I can just time leap and it'll have never happened and I'm the only one who can remember it. And eventually the only person who realized, oh yeah, this is all signified by a bike trip he goes on with Suzuha, which is great if kind of depressing. Because you get like the first sequence where he's super attentive, he's kind of enjoying it, and then you get the second one and he like kind of apathetic, and the third one he just does not care. He's just so out of it. But the only person who notices is Suzuha, because Suzuha knows what like knows. A PTSD or a brainwashed person would look like. She had experience, and she calls him out, and she becomes the support for him, where he's usually the support for everyone else. They have a very nice conversation about what to do going forward, and eventually they decide they fix the time machine. They fix Suzuha's time machine to the somewhat fixed part. Like they'll still lose their memories, so they both decide to go back in time, both Okabe and Suzuha, which completely screws up the timeline because
absolutely.
And the V end just leaves it there. They both go back in time. That's it. That's the end.
Literally anything could happen at this point.
Yeah.
But I was looking into it, and apparently fans were so distressed that there's no information that the devs came out and said, "Oh, don't worry. In that timeline, they save Mayuri and they're fine and happy."
Sure.
They just felt the need to say that. Yeah. I don't know why.
But then in the case of the anime is Okabe changes things so that Suzuha lives a at least slightly better life. And she helped Mr. Braun in the past.
Suzuha never meets Okabe. Well, Suzuha never meets Okabe in 2010.
Yes.
And she goes back to 1975 and just lives out her life from then. I believe in one of the manga, I found this out like yesterday, she becomes a college professor and teaches Mr. Braun's wife, not Mr. Braun,
Hmm.
but she takes in Mr. Braun and raises him. Which, Mr. Braun is not the best person you want to be raising, but
We don't know that yet.
so anyway, Suzuha's happy now, and that D-mail's reversed.
Mm.
Also, technically, in real life, Suzuha was born last year.
Yes.
She was born in 2018.
Yeah.
So
Now we have Ferris's.
as a baby.
Now we have
Right now.
Ferris's.
Yes. First up is Return Moe. Moe
Okay, now
is
beginning
back.
of the
Dun, dun, dun,
undoing.
dun, dun, dun.
Okay, now you guys explain Ferris's because I explained Suzuha's.
Okay, so Ferris's whole deal, it's basically, yeah, her dad is back now because of the deletion of Moe, and then so now it's the struggle of basically she has to sacrifice her dad, but it's for the sake of saving Mayuri, who is her friend, and it's very tough on her. She it's really fucking sad.
I mean, yeah, they go for the whole angle of like she's the super rich girl who can have anything she wants, but because of her dad's death, she grew up very lonely and very, very depressed. So she went to like anime and stuff as her escapism.
Hmm.
Um,
And then
And-
like she starts having the memories of previous world lines. And then she does the big gutsy move of returning things back.
yeah, and afterwards, it's not clear whether she actually remembered what happened or
Oh,
not.
yeah.
But it's kind of implied.
Yeah.
You remember
Um,
something.
Yeah, everyone remembers a little bit.
Anyway,
And next up is we gotta
wait,
return
no.
we
Wait,
go
I
back
have
into
more to
it, dude.
I have more to say, Mitch.
Sorry.
I think they cut out the most from Ferris's. The way the visual novel is structured is its chapters, and Ferris gets her own chapter. Like it's a whole thing, and her character is fleshed out a lot more in the visual novel. She is very strong and manipulative. She constantly goes behind Okabe's back. It's really entertaining actually to see how much she outsmarts him. There's a lot of levels of her getting Okabe to do things that she wanted him to do that he didn't want to do. So they cut out a lot, but I think the core story is still there, like her sense of loneliness and stuff.
Mhm.
The alternate ending of this is he tries to find a way to both save her dad and the IBN.
Yeah, that's right.
Which-
I forgot to mention the key is that Ferris's dad delivered the IBN to
Yeah.
the shrine, which is where it is found initially. And so that's basically the end goal of reversing the D-mails is to get the IBN back.
Right. So in the alternate ending, he sends a D-mail that will save both the IBN and her dad, and it sends them in a completely different world line where Okabe never knew Mayuri.
Ooh, whoa.
That's weird.
He grew up alone, never became a mad scientist, went to a tournament for that card game, Rhinet Battlers, and met Ferris and fell in love.
That's
Like
weird.
nothing of anybody else, like not even Daru.
Nope. No one else. It's literally just
Wow.
Ferris and Okabe are a couple, and that's it.
Oh
That's
my
bizarre.
god.
It cuts to a scene of Okabe standing in May Queen and him like flirting with Ferris, and then he like sees Daru sitting there, and he's like, "Oh my god." He checks his phone, he checks the contacts in his phone, and he doesn't see Daru, he doesn't see Mayuri, he just sees Ferris and his mom or something. And he's like, oh my god, I don't know these people. I can't pretend pretend like I know these people in this timeline. It's crazy. That's
Where
probably
like
one
he
of
has
the
a
more,
moment where it's like, oh, I kind of abandoned all my friends.
yeah, it's one of the
Except for
more disturbing endings because it implies that
Okabe
Olu-
remembers everything, but he can't act on that.
yeah, Okabe is like suffering because he like can't be friends with Mayuri, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can go on to Luca's, which
Okay,
this
this
one's
episode
sad
was
too.
spoiled for me because of Hulu, and I'm kind of mad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the episode
Yeah, Hulu
started
does
like
have some like
at the end.
the episode descriptions can be a bit.
No, the
Oh.
episode straight started like at the 18-minute mark or something like that.
Oh fuck!
And like there was like 2 lines of dialogue that I got in before I realized I had to rewind, and it just have to be like mentioning what happens in this episode.
Aw.
Yeah, but I think overall like it was still very good and just like the writing still works out on me. You know, even if you know what's gonna happen, it's still very tragic and everything.
Okabe does not understand how going on a date works.
Oh yeah.
No, it's great because you get these group conversations with Okabe, Kurisu, and Daru, and they're all like, yeah, let's talk about dating. But then you realize these people are the least qualified.
Yes.
Literally, Daru's like immediately like, "Hey, check out my porn games."
Check out my dating sims. They'll teach you how.
Just
And they try
everything you need
reading
to
like
know. You gotta
how
increase the
to
statistic.
go like dating books.
Yeah, dating guides.
And they're all just complete idiots in this
No.
realm.
Okabe is like, yeah, I'm gonna go in my lab coat and jeans, and Kurisu's like, no, you can't do that. But it turns out that was what Luca wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
Basically, Luca, in every timeline, is in love with Okabe, no matter what gender she is.
Yes,
She is just madly in love.
that is like outright stated. Yeah.
And I personally think Okabe also has a thing for her.
I think yeah, even early on, he's like
but-
says like he's like
Literally,
all
when
these
she's
things like
introduced,
things about like more feminine than a woman, but he's gay.
literally when she's introduced, she's like, Okabe is like, oh, she's beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
But
Like
the
she's
implication
perfect.
is that
What do you do?
the implication
It's like
is
he
that
has a real struggle. He struggles with that.
yeah, societally they can't be together, but they do have feelings for each other, or at least they're attracted to each other.
Yes.
Could work out. Other than society.
In 2019, it could work out.
Yes.
2010, no, not in Japan.
Well, is it 2019 in Japan? I don't know what's going on in Japan right now.
Yes, and they couldn't get married, but they would be
Okay.
able to have a relationship.
Okay.
They wouldn't get like murdered.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's improvement.
Sure.
I think not getting murdered anymore is at least a mild improvement.
You know
Yeah.
what? I agree.
It's not where
anyway,
it should
so-
be, but it is an improvement.
So
I'll
the
say that.
entire core of this kind of really isn't the time travel. It's more Luca being forced to not be in love with Okabe.
Yeah. And that's like
which-
with both Ferris and Lucas things is that they're making these very difficult choices and undoing like the things they wish for most, but for the sake of their friend, Mary. It's all
Their
about,
friend and potentially the world.
yeah. It's basically all done out of friendship, and that's really great. I love that.
This alternate ending is the least impressive. This alternate ending is Okabe decides to go be in an actual relationship with Luca, and they just let Mayuri die.
Oh,
It's so
I can't
that's
think of
it.
any other way that you could have that though.
Yeah,
other
it
one's
really
like-
is.
sad together
The
because
other
it's
ones
like,
they
oh
like
damn
think
it.
of something else, but yeah.
I mean, hypothetically, I guess Okabe could like change the world line by like 0.00001 from the Steins Gate world line until they find one where Luca is female.
But even then, it's just like at that point,
Yeah.
But I
No.
think even if Okabe is attracted to Luca, I think Okabe likes Kurisu a lot more.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It is the true end.
the next one is Moika.
Yeah, this is the one where I was like, this is the hard part because now Okabe knows that Moeka is evil.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but Moika isn't evil at all.
but at
He
this
thinks
point, you
that
don't
she's
know
evil.
that. At this point, you're just like, oh, she's a goon.
Yeah, but
And actually, I
as
initially assumed that Moeka faked the suicide.
what did you?
That's what I assumed, but then it was like Okabe traveled back again to before the suicide.
Yeah, she's
Moeka loses it because FB does not contact her at all.
So as I wrote in my notes so eloquently, Moika got culted.
You got what?
Culted.
Oh.
She was
What?
essentially
Yeah.
indoctrinated into a cult.
Yeah.
Yes. I do have the all caps, fuck yeah, Okabe, kick her ass.
Oh
Because
man, that's
I knew something was
No,
going on.
She deserved it. She
I
killed Mary
disagree
the
completely.
first time. She's responsible for the first death. Okabe's
Okay,
very
but
mad
I don't
about
think
it.
she wanted that to happen either.
I don't think it's her though. She's a puppet.
Yes. But at that point, Okabe doesn't know, and you, the viewer, doesn't know.
Yeah, but Okabe does know. He saw her kill herself. Basically, he knows she killed herself.
You don't totally know everything about FB yet.
I don't view it as Okabe getting a revenge. I view it as like this really necessary evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful scene when they like have this. There's sexual tension, like you can't deny it.
Yeah.
They're
yeah,
like
no,
struggling over the
they-
phones and biting each other, and
He has him pinned to the floor and everything.
it's definitely one of the most.
They like fake kiss, but Moeka bites, Okabe's like bleeding from the lip.
It's one of the most visceral brawl scenes I've seen in animation. Like just really like people just hurting each other.
It was clear by the way that it was done. Is like this is just neither of them wants to do this. You know.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of pure anger in this episode. It's really powerful.
Yeah. And then he's like, all right, I'll undo the phone thing, and then it doesn't do anything.
So
And
they
he
have
tries
to
it again.
actually go find FB, and they work together.
And then before a certain reveal happens, you get Mr. Braun talking really positively about Okabe, and it's like, what? He's being nice to Okabe?
Okay, I'm
And
gonna.
it's like,
be
oh
clear.
wow, great character growth from Mr. Braun. And then you find out the thing.
I'm gonna be very open with this. The scene with FB is changed massively from the visual novel.
Okay, go on.
So in the anime, they approach FB and they confront him, and they're like, "Hey, we know what you are," and he's like, "All right, hold. We're gonna go to a random field somewhere and talk about this in more detail." In the visual novel, he doesn't. He stays in his house and kills himself. He does not kill Moeka. In the visual novel, Nae sees this happen.
Oh my god, no!
And this is, I think, pretty important. I'm still kind of sad they left this out. In the visual novel, Nae swears vengeance on Okabe for doing this.
Oh my god!
Okay.
That
So
would have been very different.
So when you get to the point of choice where you're sending the D-mail from Mr. Braun's phone, if you choose to not do it, which usually leads into an alternate ending, you find out that this is you gotta follow me here because this is complicated. Nae, because she saw Okabe kind of pressure her dad into committing suicide, swears vengeance on Okabe, grows up for 20 years or so, joins CERN as a rounder, then gets the time leap machine, time leaps back to 2010, so like 20 years, and then kills Moeka, and then threatens Okabe, saying that in the future, Nae is going to torture and kill Okabe as part of Sin. So canonically, when Okabe hits the age of 28 or something, he is tortured and killed by Nae in every timeline.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm still kind of sad they left that out. It's super creepy. They do include that in the movie, which is weird, but anyway.
But in this case, they go to a random field, and you get, as my notes state, in all caps, Mr. Braun is FB, it was him all along, followed by, fuck, he's got a gun.
Yes, he turns out it's Ferdinand Braun, the guy who invented CRT TVs. So,
And
yeah.
Okabe's goofy nickname for him became his code name with CERN.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he fucking kills Moeka, and then himself.
Oh man, that scene.
Ooh,
Yeah.
It's good.
And you get like Nae at home, and she doesn't know.
No one
that
tells
shit just
her.
happened.
In the anime, she never finds out.
Because the D-mail fixes things and prevents all of that from happening.
And then we get the point where they have the IBN, they're ready to go
And it's
back.
like, yay, a happy moment. But there's 4 episodes left, so it can't be happy.
But then Okabe's like, wait a minute. That means Kurisu's gonna die again. And I'm in love with her.
Yeah, no, and at that point, it's been so long since episode 1, you've kind of forgotten. And then you're like, oh no, that's right.
And episode 21.
Death results in Okabe just being screwed by the universe, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Because either way, someone he cares about dies.
Yeah. So, episode 21 and 22 are basically him trying to come to terms with like who he would be willing to sacrifice. He tries one more time to save Mayuri in one of the most distressing ways to be, besides the gel one, is he starts to think that maybe if he dies instead of Mayuri, it'll solve it.
He attempts to go for the big self-sacrifice, and then Mayuri jumps in front of him.
And she's like, finally, I've been useful. And it's like,
no.
Yeah. That was the first time I cried within this set of episodes.
Oh, mine is definitely I failed. I cry every time at that.
I almost cried it. I failed. I was very close.
Anyway, further on in that episode, we get Mayuri at the gravestone of her grandma, explaining her various deaths and what's been happening. Like, she has dreams of her deaths.
Yes. Mm-hmm. She remembers it all as dreams.
That part fucked with me.
That part that's another very good scene.
And then
but she's like,
I don't remember if this is still 21 or if it's in 22. Or well, yeah, just 22 as a whole. Like I cried in episode 22.
22 is what is the major shipping episode.
Yes.
It is Okabe and Kurisu, which that pairing is perfection.
Yeah.
But you get the scene where Okabe rips up his lab coat and Kurisu mends it with, what was it, pink thread.
And Okabe right beforehand is like, I hope it's not the pink.
Oh man, then you get the kiss scene.
So good.
I didn't know the theory of relativity could be so romantic.
They just keep kissing over and over, and it's like, yes, that's good. And it's like, it's such a happy moment, and it's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, but then you immediately
got me crying again, because damn it, I remember something happened that I was just like, oh, I'm crying again, damn it.
Is it the scene where Kurisu runs back in when he's about to...
Oh, no, it's before that. I think it was just when they were discussing that, like, hey, I think it was when Kurisu was telling him, "Hey, you have to do it. You have to go to the world where I die, and accept that I will still be with you in
So
your
they go
memories and in your heart." And I was like, "Oh, that was what got me."
Yeah, their relationship is really just the backbone of it all. It's so good.
And then I'm like, no, and I literally was saying like I was like right before the credits or so, or I was like getting up from away from my laptop, wiping my tears, and thinking, how the fuck are there 2 more episodes? What do you do after this?
Yeah, and
And then it's not over yet.
I just saw like I was like it can't end this way. Still, there's gotta be another way. There's 2 episodes left, so
Yes, you get the all caps. Yo, what the fuck? Suzuha is back. Stop World War III. Oh shit, it's not over yet.
it's like episode
So-
2 is like how it should end, but also episode 23, episode 24 is like how it needs to
True
end.
happiest possible ending.
so
So good.
yeah. So the end
Where
of
it's just like,
22.
hey, there's just a whole new plot line now for the last 2
Yeah.
episodes, and it's just like, whoa, what the fuck?
So basically, you have the alpha and the beta timeline. Alpha is where you're in for most of the show. It's where you have the eventual CERN dictatorship, where they are the only ones.
And CERN takes over.
Yes, they're the only ones with time machines because they stole it from Okabe. And then
And
you have
now
the
you
beta.
move back to wait, the original initial one, which
Beta.
is Kurisu dies, but World War III happens
That's
because Russia and
beta.
US get into a race over time machines.
Yes,
Because
of
Dr.
Dr.
He
Nakabachi.
defects to the Soviet Union.
He does.
He does.
Well, it's more like seeking asylum, but yeah.
You gotta throw in those Metal Gear references.
And the Metal
Yes.
Upa is exclusively responsible for the plans not being destroyed in a plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's made out of metal.
I love the fucking it all comes back around to that degree where it's like, oh no, the Metal Upa is the most important thing ever.
The first episode is literally the key to everything. You
Yes.
get Dr. Nakabachi, you get Kurisu's death, you get the Metal Upa, you get Suzuha in the beginning. She does the little X sign to Okabe saying it's not time yet.
So good. I just I don't know, it's just something I love about so many like things where it's been so much later and you bring it around to the
It
beginning.
really
I
does.
love that. I will always love that.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of Interstellar, but I don't want to spoil that.
Yeah. I'm not familiar.
But I just love that in anything where it's just we're back to where we started.
And it's such a good thing because in episode 23, you actually experience episode 1 again.
Yeah, but from
Yes.
a new view.
Of an Okabe who's been through a lot more shit.
You've seen Okabe. You're seeing Okabe
Suffer.
see himself, looking at himself like, oh boy, you're in for some shit.
No, you get the phone call from future Okabe, and protagonist main Okabe is like, "Are you shitting me? I still talk like this in 30 years," and he's like kind of pissed off that he's still doing all the over the top shit. It's great.
By the way, there's an interesting little thing with episode 23. There is another version of this episode.
What?
I believe it's just called episode 23 beta. It is what would happen if this should make sense to you. What would happen if after you skipped a little bit, but Okabe accidentally murders Kurisu,
Yes, I was sad when that happened.
which is that's a rough scene.
Yeah.
So anyway, Okabe accidentally murders Kurisu in one specific
I
timeline.
actually, when he first killed Kurisu, I assumed, oh no, are we gonna do another whole time loop of Kurisu dying now? I thought it was gonna be that. Luckily, he only
Anyway.
has to go back one more time.
So there is a timeline where Okabe, after killing Kurisu, just gives up.
I could
Like,
see
Oh,
that.
so there's the just hard give up.
I mean, I could see that. It's like everything up to this point,
Mayuri doesn't slap Okabe. Reality.
all of his struggles, it's just been like, all right, I've been able to get through all this. I've done everything in the correct order to get to the next step, and what happens? Oh, somebody else fucking dies. So I can very much see that happening.
So
Yeah.
Really
anyway,
depressing.
the timeline where Okabe just gives up is what we call Steins Gate Zero.
Oh, that's what Zero is?
Zero is the timeline where Okabe gives up. He throws away the time machine. He just tries to live a normal life for a while.
Well, knowing full well that World War III will happen.
Yes. But he gets to survive World War III because he has to make the video that he sends to his own self.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
So that Okabe that you see in the video, old
Is
Okabe,
Steins Gate
is
Zero Okabe.
Steins Gate Zero Okabe, who survived World War III.
Oh, that's so
Wow.
good. Because you've mentioned this before that like Zero is a weird interquel in between 23 and 24, but now
What even is a
it makes so much
sequel
sense
if it's
now.
a time travel?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I know.
technically a midquel. It's not a
Yeah.
sequel.
Yeah, I said interquel
It's a meanwhile quill.
in between. Oh, so that's great.
Not great. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, but I just love that's why. That's what
Yeah.
Zero is. I didn't know what Zero was, and now it's like, oh, of course.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, so then we get the video from old Okabe, which is so good. It's so corny, but man, flippin'
Oh no, it's so hype
deceive
because it's like, this is it. One last chance to save the
Yeah.
future. Don't fuck
All-
it up, Okabe.
all I have to do is just quote what he said. Deceive your past self. Deceive the world.
It's the
Oh.
best.
So good.
It's the most. It
Gotta
gets you so
fake
hyped up
her
for the finale.
death.
You're just like, yeah, this is it.
So he makes this really convoluted plan to fake Karisu's death, as that's the only way she can survive.
Yeah.
He gets
Because
He would
just
still
it
go
has to
through all
be
this shit
past
even if he
Okabe
thought
has
she
to
was
see
dead.
what he assumes to be dead Kurisu, and
Um,
that's the key moment.
mm-hmm.
And he does it.
So he takes the fake lightsaber. It's just a lightsaber, but he thinks he has a cap of fake blood in it.
I think
don't know why.
I think it's like one of those toys, like Halloween toys that has like the fake blood in it, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in real life, but I
You've
believe
never
you.
seen those? They're like little plastic,
No.
like they have these little plastic like hatchets or knives or something, and basically if you swing it forward, there's like the gray bit of plastic, and then in front of that is a clear bit of plastic with like fake blood in it. So it's like when you swing it forward, blood gets all over the knife.
You know what I just realized?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
What?
Because
Future
it's a
gadget.
lightsaber.
Yeah, it's a lightsaber, so I don't understand why it's like that.
So there wouldn't
it's a
need to be
stabber.
blood because it cauterizes the wound.
They're nerds. They want bloody Star Wars or something. They
Well,
want
even
blood
if
in
you
their
had
Star
that,
Wars.
blood wouldn't get on a lightsaber because it's a
It's a laser beam.
laser. Yeah.
Okabe.
Also, oh yeah, thing I wanted to note, right, like watching the finale, the lyrics of the OP make so much sense once you're
Oh,
finally
yeah.
at the end.
Actually,
You
no.
read it and you're just like, this is the plot. It
Interesting
was here in
fact.
front of my face the whole time.
Interesting fact that I noticed watching this that I've never noticed before. In, I believe, episode 23 on, maybe 22 as well, they actually switch the opening.
To what?
So the opening obviously is like a 4-minute song, so it has 2 different verses.
Oh.
In the first 20 or so episodes, it's the first verse, and in the second, it's the second verse. The last 2 episodes.
Okay.
So if you go back
I was
and
like
look at,
reading in the lyrics in the finale when you're at the finale, so that's the second verse. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, this is just the plot,
I think
Yeah.
that was intentional.
and I was just like, oh, that's so good.
It's like the JoJo. They record a cool bit of the opening and they don't play it until the end.
Oh yeah. Or during the end of the world song.
Yeah, and
And
like,
like,
bites
oh
the
yeah, and
dust.
also in the finale, you get like the moment where Okabe just straight up admits in front of everyone that he really cares about Kurisu, and it's like, oh, he's grown so much. Or he's just
He's
openly
being
saying
honest.
it to everyone. It's like, ah, yeah.
Um,
And Mayuri is like,
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you like her. She's so supportive, and it's like, ah, Mayor, you're the best. It's so good.
And then you get the whole scheme that he does, Operation Scold, to deceive the world. And so it turns out the fake blood had completely dried up and could not be used at all.
And that is a big problem.
So he decides to use a completely different tactic.
Get stabbed.
Real blood.
Hey,
Not
it looks
Tracy's.
real blood. It looks just like fake blood.
And what better blood than getting stabbed myself and then bleeding all over Kurisu?
See, it's so brilliant because he decides in just the quickest decision,
Just in the moment.
I'll
I have to do
sacrifice
this.
myself for Kurisu.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah, I initially thought it was going to be that Okabe was going to die so that the past one could continue to live. I thought that was what it was going to be.
So Okabe takes on his ultimate mad scientist act and mocks Nakabachi into stabbing him. Which he does.
No, it's full on. He's doing the Kyoma stuff. He's doing all the posing. It's great.
And then Okabe is like, "You stabbed me? This does nothing. It only makes me more powerful." And Nakabachi's just like, "You're insane. I'm leaving."
And he fucking just runs out.
I mean, what would
And
happen if
then-
you stabbed somebody and they just didn't care?
Yeah, what if you stabbed a guy and he laughed in your face?
That's a raid boss. You got to stab him 20 more
The
times.
power move.
And then Okabe's like, no,
Getting
I'm
rocked,
fine. And then
just
he
don't
just
react when you
tases
get
Kurisu.
shot.
Oh,
He just
okay.
had
So
a taser the whole time.
the last note I have for Steins Gate is tasing your girlfriend.
To save her.
It's for
Very
her
well.
own good.
It made me
Sounds
think,
terrible out of context.
can you fake someone's death without their consent?
You know what? If it's to save their life, then I would say it's for the greater
Well,
good.
no. Okabe was justified. But
Okabe is a hero.
Okabe's fantastic, but I don't know. Anyway, so Okabe.
Hey, that's your last one? Because I go through all of the nice epilogue happy stuff.
No, I know the ending well enough by this point.
True. But
So the scene that almost made me cry this time, which it never has before, which was interesting, was when he's bleeding out and he looks down at the blood and at Kurisu and he's like, "This isn't enough blood. Like, I won't be fooled by this." So he takes his hand and fucking
Oh yeah.
he
stabs
starts
it
digging
his
in at
throat.
himself and starts bleeding more.
And that's where you get that nasty yell from the first episode.
Yes, it's
Oh.
him digging into his stab wound.
Oh
to
yeah, I
bleed
forgot about
more.
that.
Oh my god.
Ugh.
I
Do
don't
not
know.
do that.
I honestly thought that that version of Okabe was gonna die. So then because then past Okabe continues to live on.
Yeah,
I
but
thought
that'd
that was how it was gonna work.
that'd be a closed loop. He would always die at that point. At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
But no,
like,
I'm
how
glad
else
things
would he
worked
tell
out like
himself
they
the
did.
message? So,
Suzuha
I
just
don't know about-
cauterized the wound, and then Okabe goes to a
because
hospital.
I didn't know about Zero at the time, yeah. So it's like,
Yeah.
how else would he get that message?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not Zero Okabe.
Yeah.
But then you go to the truest, happiest possible ending.
He goes to the Steins Gate world line, which is like 1.3 something. Some people have it memorized. It's something.
I don't know.
The best possible world.
Which in this timeline, Myri is fine. They never. Saren doesn't know they exist.
Nothing bad ever happened.
But the only thing is that Kurisu is still just traveling. She does not live in Japan. So
Mhm.
Okabe makes the lab badges for everyone
Yes, oh, it's so good. I loved it.
and hands them out to most of them. He doesn't do Suzuha because she isn't born yet.
So he leaves one in a box, and then he tells Daru, yeah, no, just wait, I forget if it was 7 or 8 years.
8 years. Would have
Yeah,
been.
just wait 8 years. It'll be a big moment for you. And Daru's like, what are you fucking talking about?
And then in one of the most beautiful endings of any anime I've ever seen, he runs into Kurisu on the street, and it's just they end this with this it's kind of a corny quote, but in context, it's just like how all the possibilities of these timelines could have led up to this.
It's the happiest possible way for things to be. I know, and you forget like Moeka is working at Mr. Bronze, and
Yeah.
she's the part timer now, and it's like, oh, even she gets like a happy ending. It's like, oh, it's so good.
Moeka is presumably a lot healthier mentally.
Yeah,
Um,
and everybody is friends. All is well.
It's just the culmination of all of his efforts. Just it's like he
Yeah,
solved the puzzle essentially.
mm-hmm.
like he suffered so much, went through so much trauma, and in the end, it all basically just works out. He is rewarded for all of the things he's gone through.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the best way to end a series like this. You know, you can't
Yeah.
just have this dreary like,
They
doom.
could
You
have
know,
ended it with 22.
Yeah, they
They
could have
could-
totally ended with 22.
Well, okay.
He didn't
That's how
deserve
the-
that ending.
that's how the visual novel works. You have to get the ending in 22, the Mayuri ending,
Yeah.
before you can get the true ending.
So wait, what would the so there's the other alternates. There's the Mayuri ending, and then there's a Karisu ending. So Mayuri is end of 22,
right.
where World War III happens, and it's like, oh shit, well, but you don't know that.
No, you wouldn't know that at that point.
Yeah. So then the Karisu ending is he never goes back.
I don't think there's a hard Kurisu ending. I think that's just the true ending. Um,
Oh, no, it says there's one where there's a Karisu ending where they realize their inner feelings for each other, but Karisu's death isn't prevented post credits. Apparently, or something.
yeah,
It's like
I don't
like
know.
a semi-true ending, like a not quite.
I think Kurisu ending is considered a fake out more than anything.
Yeah, but
Um,
true ending is the best.
True
that's
ending is what happens in the anime.
Yeah.
There are a lot of sequels and spin-offs. I'll get into them a little bit now. There
Okay,
is a sequel episode. So basically,
yeah. There is something teased at the end of 24, like a next time.
yeah, there is a visual novel. The visual novel ends when Okabe and Kurisu meet up in Akiba and the streets. That is the ending. That is the hard ending. There is no more after that. But some of the writers of the visual novel went on to the anime and produced an OVA that is right after those events. So these are dubiously canon. Some people
Okay.
don't consider them canon. I do. They're very nice. But anyway, in this canon, Kurisu was actually looking for Okabe on the streets because he saved her life. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she has good enough reason
No,
to
I think
be
it
looking
is
for him.
stated in the anime where she was like, "I was looking for you." She does say that.
Anyway, they become very fast friends. Kurisu remembers a little bit from the timeline.
She
And-
remembers like enough.
So the OVA is the future Gadget Lab going to visit Kurisu in America,
Ooh!
which leads to some, I won't say racist, but like really caricature American stereotypes. Like they go to a motel in Nevada and it's just the most generic looking thing ever.
Can confirm, yes.
I
have been to a motel in Nevada,
just
and it is
happy.
generic as hell.
It's just all of the lab members being happy and friends.
a lot of it is Kurisu and Okabe like in a relationship basically. There's a lot of flirting. They introduce Daru's future wife.
Oh,
Do they show
Her
her?
name is Yuki Amane. I
Okay.
don't know if they show her in that OVA, but
I'm
she
on
is
the wiki
in,
and I
she's-
see what she looks like now. I
she's
just like,
in
who is
Zero.
she?
Let me. I gotta look.
She's in Zero as a main character. She is one of my Uri's cosplay friends. She's like a famous cosplayer,
Okay.
which
Is
explains
she
how
ever
she met Daru.
mentioned? Is she ever mentioned in the show proper or anything?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all.
Because I swear there's points where it's like Daru's talking about cosplayers, and I'm
Well,
thinking like, oh, did he actually mention a Makise or I mean an Amane? And it's like,
I don't
oh,
think so. I don't
there
think
it
she
is.
existed at that point. If anything, Mayuri would have mentioned her.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is another sequel that takes place after that OVA specifically. So in this canon, in the Steins Gate world line, Kurisu and Okabe are dating. Like that's just a thing. That's confirmed.
just how it works.
And there's a sequel movie, which is the last part of canon, basically. It is a side story where basically Kurisu has to do the same thing for Okabe that he did for her.
Oh.
So Okabe starts getting really serious PTSD of all of his different Reading Steiner memories.
Yeah.
He starts getting
just all of the timelines start converging in his head, basically.
And he's in the kitchen at the lab, and he like sees Mr. Braun, and he like grabs a kitchen knife and like holds it in because he's really scared. And it hurts to watch. It's like
just when you thought like his suffering was over, it's back now.
This is going to sound kind of funny. This is going to sound kind of funny, but I would compare it to some of the old Snake scenes in Metal Gear Solid 4. Like you see this character you love just going through this horrible stuff that just couldn't be avoided.
Every single time Snake in that game coughs just from like smoking too much, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So sad.
But the movie is about Kurisu just becoming the mad scientist, I guess, doing some time traveling. They do some neat callbacks to the visual novel. They reference the alternate endings a lot. They show the scene where Okabe is biking with Suzuha endlessly. They show Nae as a terrifying serial killer because that's what she is. But overall, it's a good story. It ends very well. Very emotional. But that's the end of canon for that timeline.
So does it just end up everything is okay?
Yeah, as far as we know. There is a novel coming out this year that is after that movie even.
Ooh.
Which I'm very excited to read it. But we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Technically, because this is part of a trilogy, it goes Chaos Head, Steins Gate, Robotics Notes. So Robotics Notes starts the first second with the Worldline counter with the Nixie tubes, I think they're called.
Yeah.
And they are set on the Steins Gate Worldline.
So Robotics Notes takes place in best possible universe, basically.
Yes. And it shows what disaster awaits them then.
Damn it! Even the happy world has bad shit.
There are two characters that return. I don't want to tell you who they are, but they are main characters.
Are you implying something that you will maybe pick something in the future?
No, Robotics Notes is 23 episodes. I can't.
Oh, okay.
Also, I don't recommend it. It's not that good.
So then why aren't you telling us?
Okay, you know what? I'll just tell you. It's So, do you know how there is a Japanese equivalent of NASA? I think it's called JAXA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the Steins Gate world line, that's what Nae joins.
Oh.
So it's
years later. Okay. Gotcha.
In Robotics, yeah, it's like 2019, I think. So in Robotics Notes, you get teenage Nae.
Do you get like a young Suzuha too?
No.
Oh, because I expect that. Because
the other character is Daru, who is now a famous hacker.
Of course.
And his name is Dash.
Like just a singular dash?
No, it's capital D, lowercase a, capital SH.
I hate it.
Yes. Well, Daru is not known for his good aesthetic.
He speaks bad.
He's known for his horrible naming conventions.
I should go into some of the more Steins Gate Zero stuff because you guys don't know anything about it. So it takes place the winter the same year that the whole Steins Gate things happen.
Where Kurisu is dead and Okabe has just completely given up.
Okabe killed Kurisu in this timeline. Yes. Like, he is personally responsible. So he starts starts going to counseling. He starts getting actual psychiatric because he's going through a lot of stuff. He starts getting like these weird memories of Kurisu because at this point he's still in love with her. He still has very fond memories of her, but she's gone.
Yeah.
And then this doctor and a student from America come to Japan to do a conference about AI technology.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out that Kurisu was on that team because she was studying to be a brain neurologist, and they were trying to map out the brain for use in AI.
Okay.
Turns out they made a fully functional AI of Kurisu.
Oh my fucking
Oh
god.
my god, we're getting... This is... I remember when I was telling you about Peace Walker, you're like, you should check out Steins Gate.
Oh my
Peace
god.
Walker.
So the
AI.
basically the story is Okabe trying to get over Kurisu's death while having Kurisu on his phone. It's pretty heart wrenching.
That is very similar to Metal Gear Peace Walker, but I could see this also.
I think Steins Gate Zero at times gets into like fan fiction-y levels. There's some rough moments that are like poorly written. Some of the main characters are bad. Like they got this is kind of a spoiler. Sorry if anyone watching this knows nothing about Steins Gate Zero or anything. One of the characters is Mayuri's adopted daughter in the future.
Yeah.
Huh?
They do this stupid fake out where first she looks like Kurisu because she has the like weird brown red hair, and then they're like, "That's Mayuri's daughter," and they're like, "Oh no, who did she have a kid with? It's got to be Okabe because there's no Kurisu in this timeline." And then it's like, "Oh no, she adopted her." And it's like, that was pointless. Why did you do this to us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really see that adding anything, really.
Yeah, I hate her. If you take her out, the whole story is a lot better. I don't hate Steins Gate Zero. It is canon, like it's confirmed canon.
It's just another world line.
Mm-hmm.
So you
so
can kind of ignore it.
If you ever want to watch that, go for it. I might watch it sometime. I played the visual novel, so I already know the story, but okay. Do you guys have any like overarching thoughts?
I think this show is amazing. It's a lot to take in. I was kind of quiet this episode. It's just there's a lot going on, and you can follow it going all the way through. Though, I love plots like that so much, where it's just like there's so much going on you couldn't possibly even hope to predict what's gonna happen next. And yeah,
it's complicated to the level where it knows when to take its time. It knows when to get quiet and just explain things, just have conversations. And I feel like in more rushed shows, they wouldn't take the time to explain these things to the viewer.
I am very surprised. Like, I couldn't really think of any actual plot holes. Like, a lesser show would be full of them, with the amount of stuff going
is just,
on.
Everything is tied up essentially. Like the only thing that isn't tied up is who's Suzuha's mom, and that's later revealed in, as you mentioned, the OVAs. So
and again, it's not even really that important.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one thing, and that's not even a major thing that's left. Everything else is tied up very nicely and neatly.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes back around. It's awesome.
Yeah. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier is that the trilogy of Chaos Head, Steins Gate, Robotics Notes is that they have a tagline for it, like a core underlying design philosophy, I guess you would call it, of 99% reality, 1% fantasy. So they take a bunch of very realistic theories, hypotheses, concepts, and they mash them together with a little bit of crazy, Yeah,
it's like you have all these realistic ideas for time travel and stuff, but at the same time, it's a microwave. But it all comes together still. They do make it work.
I was about to say, it's like, hey, there's all these theories about time travel. What if this one actually worked?
Yeah, and that also they take the whole John Titor myth, which is basically most of the core story.
They make John Titor canon
Yes.
in real life.
To make her a cute girl.
Yes. The best girl.
Arguable, but
we're not going to get into that here. We've been going on too long. We're not going to get into any best girl arguments.
Okay. So they take a lot of these real concepts. They take these weird conspiracy theories, which, by the way, CERN is aware that this exists and has made many references to it. It's great.
Of course, because CERN is... My favorite thing is scientists. Like, any other community would be like, oh, we don't want to be associated with this. But the science community is just full of nerds, so they're like, of course we want to be associated with this. There's like genes named after Pikachu and Sonic, like, of course.
Otacon, what's the CERN I keep on hearing about?
Do you want to have a Metal Gear Solid with time travel?
Don't.
What am I saying? Of course.
That'd get...
Solid Snake is sent back.
I'm pretty sure time travel is the only thing that Metal Gear doesn't do.
I was gonna say Survive kind of does it, but that's more just dimension travel.
That's dimension traveling.
I want Solid Snake to get time traveled back to Operation Snake Eater.
Okay, I gotta mention this because it's fucking stupid. The plot of Metal Gear Survive is that the wormhole item that you can get in 5, which is a end game joke item, so that you can Photon people without dragging them outdoors, and it never fails. It's a wormhole. That is canon to Metal Gear Survive. It's not like a joke item in that. Basically, the technology gets screwed up, and they get all of Mother Base transported into the middle of this post-apocalyptic world full of zombies. It is stupid.
And that is the final Metal Gear game.
Hopefully, it's not a Metal Gear game. Nope.
The true opinion to have.
And that is the final game that unnecessarily has Metal Gear in its branding, despite having nothing to do with the established franchise.
I very much hope that is the case.
Don't say stuff like that. Just accept it.
Yeah.
But
anyways, back to the anime.
This show is great.
Mitch, give your overall opinion.
It's so good. Like, it starts out slowish, but then once they start sending the D-mails and changing the world lines, that's when business picks up. And then from then on, it's just excellent. You are so enthralled and hooked. And then I cried multiple times in that final 4 stretch of episodes. And it's just beautiful. The show is all about just Okabe growing more and more open about how he loves his friends despite all of the trauma and hardships that he's going through of changing from different timeline to different timeline. And I love that. It's just so great.
Yeah, I think on my rewatches, I think that's where it all really shines, is just Okabe is such a good character, such a well-written character. From minute 1, he's lovable, but not for the reasons that you would expect. He starts out as just a buffoon, he's silly.
Yeah.
He's enjoyable to watch. But the further you go, the more you realize, well, this guy isn't as crazy as I thought he was. He's actually doing things intentionally. Of course, he's being silly. He's being kind of rude, but
he's being silly and rude, but that's how he deals with things.
But that's his coping method.
And also, I think
he does the Kyoma persona to cope.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, it's totally a coping mechanism, and I think the whole thing is about coping in general,
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only is he coping, he made up Kyoma so that Mayuri could cope with her grandmother's death. He keeps it up so that, Luca can deal with gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Ferris can deal with her father's death. Moeka can deal with her crippling depression, social anxiety. But I always point to this one example, and this might be my own headcanon, but I believe it. Look at what Okabe calls Kurisu one of the first times that he meets her, Christine. You think it's just a silly nickname, but look at her name, Kurisu. That name is actually the Japanese form of the English name Chris. So Kurisu's name is just Chris. That's her name.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she
She's
lived
just
in
morphed
America.
it to fit in the style of the Kyoma character.
No, so I view it as Okabe knows that she has lived in America for a very long time. What could have people called her in America?
Yeah,
Oh,
Chris,
it's
Chris.
called
because
Christina.
that's her name. So maybe Okabe, this is my, like I said, headcanon. I believe this. I think Okabe made up that nickname to make Kurisu feel more welcome.
Maybe.
As a kind of like, you're used to people calling you the American form of your name, so I'm going to do it too. You know?
Yeah.
I just think it's those little things that just get you about Okabe.
That's his attempt to kind of invite her in and be part of the group.
And also, you have the level of Okabe making this character that's really easy to hate. For some of the characters, like Mr. Braun, I think that's
Even
also his
Daru
way.
kind of like doesn't really enjoy.
But I think Okabe does that intentionally too. He makes a scapegoat for everything. Like if you want to blame your problems, blame them on Kyoma. You know.
Oh yeah, no, Kyoma is absolutely his. No, I didn't do that. It was the other guy. It's his
Man.
get out of jail free card.
He's
But then,
just
like,
such a
over
good guy.
time, he starts to like get disillusioned with that. But then you get to the final episode where he's doing the Kyoma thing, and he is like being the big hero, utilizing it, and it's like, yeah, so good. This show.
I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it as much as I do.
Thought this show was amazing. I kind of knew I was gonna like it, but
I mean,
yeah.
with all the high praise that not only you give it, but just seemingly everybody, I was expecting like, oh yeah, this ought to be pretty
That's
good.
also something that I'm really glad I was able to do it for the podcast, because I feel like a lot of people give up in that first 7 episodes.
It's one of those things where it's
not the first. The first, it gets interesting within the first 7.
4, honestly. Not
Yeah,
even
it's the first 4.
Even
Because
then,
like,
I
that's
was
what I was
by
saying
the
was like initially early on, like I struggled. Like I'd watch 2 episodes and I'd be like, wow, I'm tired already.
even
and
then
then and then you get 5 onwards, and it's like, oh, finally, we're really getting going now.
with the show, it's like the early episodes. It was just like I was feeling like this is going slowly, but I really feel this is going somewhere. Like I had faith in the show.
You have to set things up and go through the motions, and then once you have, it's off to the races.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of reviews of the show, and I've seen a lot of people say that it doesn't even get good until episode 12, and I'm like, what's wrong with you?
That's crap.
Do we watch the same show? But yeah, I'm glad you guys got through it all, and we're very happy. I hope you go on to watch at least the OVA and the movie. 0 is still, tentative recommendation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have anything else to say. The opening is amazing.
Oh yeah, the opening gets a lot of play, but also the ED is really good.
The ED is amazing.
I really like the ED as well.
Yeah.
Because like the opening gets like a lot of play. That's always in like your anime opening playlists.
I also do recommend the main theme of the visual novel. It's called Gate of Steiner. They do play it a couple of times as background music in some of the more important scenes in the anime, but they don't ever play it by itself. It's kind of the main theme of the series.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I think I could go on for days about this show. It's my Metal Gear if we're
honestly, like
things.
I'm just sitting here like I just want to listen to you talk about the show for a
It's so
really?
interesting.
I mean not right now. No, it's been 2 hours, but like it's been fun.
I'm glad because I have so much fan theory and like criticism, not bad criticism, but like analysis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
this is your stand coming in full force.
Yes, I have watched
this
everything.
Is your Requiem.
My Overkill Requiem. Okay. I think that's it then. If you guys have nothing else to say,
I don't. I guess ratings.
9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
I think I still give it a solid 9. I like the visual novel a little bit better.
I give this also a solid 9. I think this show is very meticulously planned out. Everything falls into place right where it was, and when it all lines up, it is very satisfying.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I am satisfied.
You should
Okay. Now we should probably go to the showdown. It's
Yeah.
been a while.
be. Yes.
So
All right.
Mitch,
It's my turn.
load your gun.
Okay, so this is one that I think all of us we all saw the first episode and
It
we
better
all
top
were like,
Steins Gate. It's not a.
Sorry, Mitch. You have hard competition.
yeah, I know.
No, the expectations have been, or the bar has been raised so high that your expectations are low because by
Yeah.
comparison, like you could put whatever.
But we all watched the first episode of this and we were all intrigued and we're like, yeah, this looks good. And then we looked at episode counts and we're like, oh, we could do this for the podcast. So I'm doing Mysterious Girlfriend X.
Yep, I called it. I'm happy though. I want to see this one.
So yeah, hopefully this one works out
All right.
because we were all pretty down with it when we saw the first episode.
Yeah, I'm super interested. I've had the manga recommended to me once, but the first episode of the anime got me hooked immediately. I'm like, wow, this is super weird.
Alrighty.
Okay.
And with that, we have concluded our now 2-hour-long podcast episode.
I called it.
This
I
is a
knew
mi-
it. I knew it was
we are
gonna be
at 2 hours, 1 minute right now.
I knew it. I called it.
I think that's a milestone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is
yeah.
this good or bad? We don't know yet.
I think we did the show justice.
We did it out of
Absolutely.
love.
Of all shows to get this
This
high
deserves it.
time, this show gets it. So yeah, thank you all. If anybody's still here, thanks for sticking around.
It'll just be me in the future re-listening to this. Hey, me. Good job.
But yes,
Thanks for listening, Connor. Love you, man.
This is gonna be
anyways,
weird.
Thanks for watching. That is Digitized Desperadoes episode 23. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.